Okay, so we've got it all taped down, and we're going to start with a bit of sky. You can have what sort of sky you want, whether could you mute all mute, please? Are we good? Okay. Okay, that's good. We're good to go. I've got some ultramarine, which is a nice summery sky blue. I've got a bit of a puddle of it, not too big because it's we're only going to use it on the sky, I think. Yeah, there's not much else we're going to use it for. So just not too thin, but I think they call that milk consistency. Yeah. So that's no wetting the paper beforehand. Make sure your brush has got plenty in. And basically, I've got a size 12 long round. I'm just going to scrub it in using plenty of water and leaving gaps. Go round the lighthouse. So I haven't reloaded my brush with paint at all. I'm just still scrubbing, and we're getting light over to the lighter over to the left side. I just put a little bit more paint in and a little bit more water. And I'm just going round that. So that's all I'm doing. So I'm just softening that bit down there, around that shed. I think that's down the outside toilet. And I just loaded a little bit more ultramarine on my brush, and just to make these two corners darker. And I still got this, you can see that the paint is wet on there, and that's all I'm doing with the sky. There's one or two bits on there that are a little bit sharp edge, so I'm just going to take the end of my brush, it's clean and it's only damp, and just wiggling, agitating, just to soften that hard edge up. And over this one as well. I want the gaps because they are the clouds. It's just a soft wiggle round and round, just to make it get rid of those hard edges. So I just washed the brush again, wiped it with a tissue, and just softening round and round that edge. And as you can see, it just gets rid of that hard edge, and it looks more like a cloud. And again, this bit over here, you just take time and look. Where you that'll do. Don't need. So I haven't got any of my buildings covered in blue. They might have got a little bit just going over the edge of them, but there we go. So that can be drying quite happily whilst we go onto the next bit, which is going to be the green grass. I'm changing my brush because that was a big brush for the sky. So I take my green, my ready-made green, and then I'm going to put a little bit of yellow on the top to make it light. And I'm going to put that line of grass in there. It's light, it's furthest away from us, so it's light. I just put a line in and just water on the brush and just pull it down a bit, because then we can blend it in with some darker stuff. We just need it light on the top. There. The sun is shining.
Sorry, Susan, which green is it?
I started off with the hooker's green.
Hooker's green.
Okay. Hooker's green, which is that dark one there.
Uh-huh.
And then I added some lemon yellow, and that's it there.
Yeah, okay.
That's the one I put on, and then you can see that I've got a darker green left there.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'm going to put the darker green across the bottom. And because we put a line of water to blend that light green out, it just drops in and goes quite nicely. Now I'm going to just put an even darker green just at the bottom there. And I've got a line now between my mid green and my dark green. So with a clean damp brush, I just give it a push about a bit, so that it all blends really. Making the water and the paint do the work instead of you. I've just noticed that I've got some blue on that building there, which is supposed to be white. So with a clean damp brush, I'm just agitating it so that it moves it, and then I've blotted it up with the tissue. Because that building is actually white, it needed to come up. And we're going to do the same. We're going to do this grassy mound here. And look, I've got a hard edge. So again, I've got clean damp brush. And I'm just pushing backwards and forwards at that line so that it doesn't show as a hard line. That's better. Just looks like it's clear. This bit of grass, because it's closer to us, we can go a little bit darker than it's like that mid green, I think. And I've got some stones, rocks. This comes down to the rocks. So that's it. That's him. You can put a little tiny bit of a darkness across the tops of that rocks. Because it's still wet, it will blend in. So I've got, that's too dark. So I'm just going to take a clean damp brush and just blend that in to the green that's above. just to give it a little bit of variation, really, instead of it just being plain green. The next bit, we need to pick up our pencils. So I'm just going to pencil lightly some reflections down here so that I know where to lift out the blue paint of the water. So it's following what you've got on the land. So I've just pulled down. Can you see? Yeah, I'll do it a bit. So you do yours lightly. So I know between those lines that I need it to lift paint off once I'll put the blue paint in. I didn't do that on mine. I don't know whether you did it on yours. I think I may have done it, and then when I inked it, I didn't. Anyway, the next bit we're going to put in is some water. The Nubble Lighthouse is in Maine, in America, and on the East Coast, fairly high up, they have water that's just a little bit tinted, I would say, with some Payne's grey. So ultramarine with a bit of Payne's grey. They don't have that turquoise water of the Caribbean or whatever. So I've got a little mix there of a little bit of ultramarine with a little bit of Payne's grey in it. So it's sort of a grey blue. And I'm back on the big brush. I'm pulling it across. I'm leaving a few sparkles. The brush is a little bit wet, but not totally dripping wet, because I want those sparkles in there. Use the brush on the side to get the sparkles. That bit's over sparkly. And if you think, God, I've got too much, then just wet the brush a bit more. See, that's too big a sparkle, so just take a bit of it away. Then, with clean water and a damp brush, go in where your lines are and begin just to pull them out. So put your brush on the paint, it's clean, and pull. That bit there. And then there's this for the house. I'm just using plain water here, and I'm just scrubbing it away a bit and then pulling it down to give that feeling that it's disappearing. Same with that last bit there. So we've got the basis there for the white reflections. You don't have to get all the paint out. You can still leave some of the blue in there. And I'm just using the tissue just to tidy up at back there. And that's, so I know it doesn't, oh, we missed, oh, look, missed that little shed out there. Oh, actually, that's going to be a different colour, so it doesn't need them so much, unless you want to leave it white. Anyway, it's in now. So that's dry. Yeah, that's dry, and that's drying. So we've got, right, we can do, there's a, down the bottom end of the house, there's a, it's painted blue. Bottom next to the grass, there we are, look, see, ooh. Right. So this bit here is painted blue. So we can put that in. You can choose any blue you want. You can choose red. You can whatever. It is actually blue, but so again, I'm doing a little bit of Payne's grey with a little bit of ultramarine, and just going over that there. And that's the only bit of blue there. Yeah. And with that same mix, we can put the shadow side of the lighthouse. The same mix. My sun is coming from the left, so I'm just going to put some shadow on the right side there and just sort of blend it in so it's not a really hard line. Probably need a little bit darker than that, so that's it. And I think we'll do the shed. In the painting, the shed is sort of ready. So I've used some burnt sienna with a little bit of red. And I'm just going to paint in very simply, keeping in the lines. The red of the outside loo. What else? Back to the lighthouse, carefully. Underneath, this hangs over, so you get a shadow going right across. So the railings at the top of the lighthouse, you get a shadow underneath, and take it across to meet the shadow down the left side. And with the same red that you used for the shed, you can put in the roof. Make it a bit stronger if you want. This side of the roof here, the right side, the bit that sticks out here, could be a bit darker because that will be in shadow too. So you could mix a little bit of the Payne's grey in with the red, just to make it a little bit darker, because this roof line here would put that in shadow, that little bit there in shadow. The shed will also put this grass in shadow. So draw a triangle on the side of the shed in the Payne's grey. To give that shadow there. We're dotting about a bit because, yeah, we've got one colour on the go, so I'm just finding what we can do with it before we change. I'm just softening up the edge there. Using a bit of tissue as well, just to soften it up. I think the next thing I'm going to do is change to a much smaller brush. It says looking for the much smaller brush. Somebody's pinched it. There it is. No, it's not. There it is. So, using that same red, the burnt sienna, and a little bit of cadmium red or something like that to give it an orangey but darker look. This is a red flat roof, so that needs to go in there. And what else? Oh, the porch roof. So that goes over there. Porch roof. Anything else red? No. So okay. Don't worry, it'll soon be over. You'll soon be out of this misery. What we're going to next? Back with the Payne's grey and the slight bit of ultramarine, and we'll do some shadows under eaves and things. So a mix of Payne's grey, ultramarine, maybe a tiny titchy bit of red just to give it a bit of warmth, but not a great deal. We're painting some shadows. Over to this shed. Underneath the eaves. Because the sun's coming from the left, that's a bigger shadow than the one on the right. So that's just a line. Whereas the other one's thicker. The same with this pointed bit here. We've got one that's thicker. If it touches the window, that's fine, because shadows don't stop at windows. So you've got a thick one there and a thinner one this side. And underneath this funny building here, we just got a line because it overhangs a little bit. Go over the window. Follow that roof line round. You can make that one a bit darker, a bit bigger. And then we've got this house will cast a shadow on that building there. And it, again, we think of it as a triangle. So don't paint this, but so come down, not painting with your brush. And then where that line hits, so you go from there to there, where that line hits the White House, that will be in shadow. We've got shadow coming from this shed here. So again, same as this one. Pull some shadow out for the bottom. You can't put it up here because there is no grass for it to be on. That's that. Didn't take my painting right up to my painted house bit. That's it. This is slightly behind the lighthouse, so that is not casting a shadow on that, so that we can just ignore that. Underneath the windows, a shadow on all of it. Well, you can't really do it on that one, on the bottom bit. A shadow underneath the windows. This shed roof here. Same thing, thicker line on the left because the sun's coming from the left, and the thinner line down on that right bit. Right. Whilst we've got that blue going, we can just put the top of that, the cap of the lighthouse in. And then very carefully, just take a bit of the sky colour, which was just ultramarine blue, very watery, and just go where the glass is, because you can see the sky through. And then in the middle here, where there's a wall to support the light, paint that dark, and then leave these two bits that are overhanging light, so that you can see through those, but you can't see through that bit there, because that's the light of the lighthouse, and it's got a wall, a brick wall to support it. Just going to make that shadow a bit darker there on that. Then I think I'm going to get some Payne's grey and just do some planks on that shed there. And then with a little bit of red, just put a line of red on the top, because that can be a tiled roof on there. It's all very fiddly. So with a not too big brush, but big enough, I get some, and it's quite a watery mix, and I'm just going to cover the entire area of rocks. If you've got a hot day, do a little bit and then go back. I'm going to just do half because I want to.
Sorry, Susan, what colour are we meant to be using?
Sorry, raw sienna. Sorry. And then with a small brush, pick up a little bit of burnt sienna and just drop it in places. Just dropped in, just touched and moved on. And then some burnt umber, just touch. Leave the top ones more raw sienna because that's where the sunlight's going to be. So this one here should be more raw sienna than anything else. And maybe get a little bit of Payne's grey and just go down the bottom of some of the rocks. Just touch it to make it look like that's in shadow. Down the bottom there. Around that one. I'm just putting a little bit of Payne's grey on the bottom of most of them actually. It's only a tiny bit just around the bottom to make them curve. Otherwise they look flat. And then do the other half. If you elected to do half and half or whatever. So raw sienna first, along all of it. And a little bit of burnt sienna in places. Then a little bit of burnt umber in places. Then a little bit of Payne's grey along the bottom of a rock. You can use a very small brush if you wish, or if you've got a good point on your brush, you could just drop in a little bit on the bottoms of the rocks, just to give it that shadow feel that and comes out curved. And we've got some rocks up on the top here. I'm just doing them in raw sienna because they're up in the sunlight. Leaving them a few minutes because I want to just put a little bit of Payne's grey down the bottom to give them some shadow. Yeah, they're quite wet, so I'm just soaking up some of the paint in them with a thirsty brush. So that's a clean damp brush. If you've got a little bit of yellow, you could always just take a little bit of lemon yellow and just the tops of these rocks where they might perhaps catch a bit of sun. It's only would be the top of the top rocks. Just a little bit of sun there. It's all texture really, and that's what it's all about. Just different textures to make it seem a bit more real. And then with the Payne's grey and these little rocks right at the top of the hill, just go underneath. Just to pick them out, and so they look a bit 3D. And then our next job is to put a little bit more detail on these reflections. The first thing I notice is that I've got really dark marks where I've lifted. So I have, with clean damp brush, I've just gone round in circles, agitated it, and then I'm just wiping it away with a tissue, using a clean portion of the tissue each time, because I don't want it to be that pronounced. So water in the brush, and I'm just wiggling it on that line, and then just wiping away so it softens it. Because with water moving, they won't be straight reflections. They're always got ripples and stuff. So just going through and softening it up a bit. This one it's got very and so back with a liner brush, we will tackle these reflections, starting over at this shed here, hut here, with the same color as much as you can, or even just a wee bit darker. Just put lines in and come downwards, and with your finger pull. So I'm going side to side, and then when it's about the same size, I'm just using my finger to pull it down. You might need more water on your brush. Pull it down past where the shadows are, where the reflection has been lifted out, so that it looks as if it's disappearing. That one's the easy one. Going to reflect some of these rocks. So again, do this bit by bit. So with the same colours in the mix that you have for the rocks, which was raw sienna, burnt umber, and a little bit of red, just draw under, put a line underneath the rocks, and with your finger just pull it down. I use that finger, that one. It gets filthy, so it's wiggling a line of paint and pulling down. Wiggling a line of paint, pulling down. So I put plenty on and then just pull down. And I'll go right across the painting this way. If you go right across and then try and pull down, it's dried. So I do it bit by bit. Need a bit more paint. As you get towards this left side, the rocks are higher, so you could actually come with your painting, putting your paint on, come down a bit further so that it reflects that the rocks are higher, and so more is reflected into the water. And when you get this side, you see is not very high at all. So you just do a narrow line. Now, on this shed here, you've got a red roof. So I'm drawing that red roof in, wiping my finger, and then just smudging it. I'm drawing the red roof on, as well, it's on the top of there, but on the bottom of that bit we lifted. And the same with this one. So it's got a line there. And so I just put the lines in, just put a line or two in. Don't forget that's got an apex there. So that's just, it's not really a great deal on the lighthouse itself, except it's got a door which is dark there. So again, I just put a dark, just paint some Payne's grey there, and then smudge it downwards. And we missed out this middle building. So that's got a red roof. So draw the roof in a line of red and just smudge it down. So that's the roof there, following the line of the roof, and then smudge it down. Oh, we have a door. Put any coloured door you like in. Absolutely anything. I'm keeping mine blue. And then reflect that in the water. So with your eye, just come down, think, well, that's about there. The roof's there. So my door's probably going to be about here. And that's doesn't look right. The roof. Just put in a bit of green because we've got some green before we get to the house. So using the same method, just dropping a bit of green in and pulling that down, and have another go at the door, which I'll put there. And just putting little strokes for the windows and then smudging. Not smidging, smudging. And windows on that one and on that one. Oh dear, look, and there's a red roof over there. And you've got quite an expanse of green above these rocks over on the left. So I'm just dropping a little bit of green in there as well, just so that that looks as if it's, and I'm painting it, over painting it where the brown went for the reflections, and bringing it down a bit closer to the bottom. So we've got green. There's a big bit of green here. I just look to see where your colours are, and basically it's painting upside down. We've got green across there and across there. We haven't got green across there. That's about it, really. Be quite light-handed with doing these reflections. You can always go in afterwards and make them darker, but you can't really get them back out again once you're in. And that, I think, is that.